Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CryptoCannaVerse. We are an international faith-based show where we help entrepreneurs within the 5 Cs grow their business: cannabis, Christ, cryptocurrency, cybersecurity, and certified public accountants. Today, we are hosted by myself, Crystal Wampler, Alan Lau, and our co-host is Jacob Livingood. Welcome. The CryptoCannaVerse Show is booked through September. If you would like to apply to be a guest, please reach out to crystal@kinetics.com. If you would like access to deal flow, please reach out to crystal@kinetics.com. Today's show is being live streamed across multiple channels, including LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and multiple other channels. Our network consists of business owners, venture capitalists, Web3 launchpads, family offices, high net worth CPAs and attorneys, investors, and angel investors. Before we introduce our guest speakers today, we would like Alan Lau to start with a Bible verse.
All right, thanks, Crystal. Welcome everyone to CryptoCannaVerse. It's hot in Sacramento. I think it's probably about 100 degrees here locally in my city. Hope you guys are staying cool out there. But thank you, Anthony and Zach, for coming on to the show to talk about your entrepreneurship and your business in the movie industry. Today's Bible verse comes from 1 Timothy 6:12, and it says, "Fight the good fight of the faith. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called when you made your good confession in the presence of many witnesses." So when I read this verse, it brings me back to when I first accepted Christ. So my story of when I first accepted Christ was in a summer camp. I was in a summer camp, and there was a lot of people in the same age group as me. And the pastor was speaking at the summer camp. There's counselors. You know, at the end of the message, they always talked about like who would like to accept Christ and pray. And I was actually the one that actually raised my hand. So why it brought me back to this scene is because we announced in public amongst everyone that, hey, I'm going to be saved. I confessed all my sins, and God forgave all my sins, and accepted Christ. And that was from there on. It talked about having faith and having an eternal life because we accepted Christ was so valuable to us. So it kind of brings me back to the scene of when I was a kid, accepted Christ. I don't remember how old I was. It's definitely probably in like middle school, I would say. Maybe later part of elementary school, middle school is when I accepted Christ. So I wanted to share that with you. So I love the verse, 1 Timothy 6:12, is taking hold of eternal life, which God has called you, and you confess to witnesses that you accepted Christ, and I accepted Christ at a young age. So wanted to share that story.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate that. Zach Lona is the CEO and co-founder of the HiddenOnes with a background in film directing and software product design. He helps keep the project at the cutting edge of entertainment industry technology. He earned a BFA from the School of Art Institute of Chicago in 2016 and is currently based in Chicago. Anthony Gibson is the president and co-founder of the HiddenOnes. He has built his career on a solid foundation in film, producing 2 feature films and over a dozen shorts. His work has garnered support from the Panavision New Filmmaker Program and the Chicago Independent Production Lab, a fellowship funded by the National Endowment for the Arts. He lives in Los Angeles, California. Welcome, Zach and Anthony.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
awesome to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
So excited for you guys to be here. So tell us, what made each of you first want to get into making movies and, media in general?
I mean, you can trace it back just to watching movies with my grandpa with his like quintessential chair. And he was a big horror guy. Also watched a lot of Westerns. One of my earliest memories is actually him chasing me around his kitchen. I was like 3, maybe 4. and he put a wolf mask on and thought it was really funny. So I think that right there, that sort of twisted sense of humor and also the love for the supernatural is kind of born out of this deep fear that I was about to be eaten by a wolf man. So I think, yeah, something happens there. Like also he was showing me movies he probably shouldn't have been at a really early age. Things like he showed me How High when I was, we're on this like cannabis podcast. He showed me How High when I was 8 years old and thought it was the funniest thing in the world. When my mom found out about it, she was not too stoked, but yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, my answer is a little bit more pretentious, I'm afraid. So sorry, but I'm not like a big movie buff at all. I've kind of, expanded my repertoire of cinema fandom since getting into, movies as a medium. But my background is in painting and visual art and conceptual art. And I've always had a very frustrating relationship with that, where I'm like past a certain technical point of being able to paint a good picture, but I never know what to paint. And I kind of had this realization in school that, actually film and moving pictures and media actually will be a much better medium for me. And, just suits how I think as an artist much better. So that's kind of the backstory of it. And since then I've, dove much deeper into cinema as a medium, and now I've got my favorites.
So before you guys explain to us what Hidden Ones are, how did you guys meet?
Yeah, I was living in Chicago at the time, and there's like a Chicago Film Club kind of meetup email listserv, and I'd just gotten onto it and went to one of the meetups, and there was like a few of us just in this like cramped apartment, just like watching each other's stuff. And I didn't really even talk with Zach much. My friend is also named Zach, connected, I think, with Mr. Lona over here, and then caught wind that he was looking to make a feature film. And I was like, well, I'm a producer. Like, I want to make a feature film. And then we met and we're just like, okay, hell yeah. We're both into weird stuff. This is good. I think this might work out. And then we just started meeting about like, once a week, once every 2 weeks or something for a really long time. And eventually just kind of all culminated to us making this feature film, which is He Who Lives in Hidden Lakes.
Nice. So tell us about, what is the Hidden Ones?
That's a big question. It's taken many forms since, the inception of the project, starting with that feature film. The feature film that Anthony was just talking about is kind of what set us on the path of making this really a decentralized, community-driven production studio surrounding monster myths, supernatural phenomena, and things like that. It's kind of a long-winded story about how we actually got into crypto, which we can get into. But to just kind of give the elevator pitch to Hidden Ones, it's a place for independent creators to find their audience, start making money off of their creations, and get the support of a built-in audience and existing intellectual property that's contained under the Hidden Ones umbrella. So not only is it a production studio, it's also like a collection of IP that makes up a cinematic universe on its own as well.
So if I wanted to, reach out to you guys and build this, how give me the intake, like how would that happen?
Yeah, it's very casual right now, because we're targeting the sort of organic growth that I feel like you don't really see in the NFT space as much as we really should. In the NFT space, it's very, hype driven, kind of, the flavor of the month. This thing is really hyped right now, and then it kind of dies out. We're looking to grow in a little bit more organic, steady way. So the way to get involved would be to just like follow us on Twitter, join the Discord, and just start talking to people and making friends. We've already got a really solid community of a few dozen people actively, and a couple hundred people a little bit more passively, who are all, kind of aligned toward this goal of making Hidden Ones, a next gen Disney level studio. So it starts at that very simple point with just getting to know us, getting to know each other, and talking to us about like what your vision is for your creative practice and what you want to accomplish from a business standpoint too. And we're going to help you get there.
Yeah, the idea is that, we're hosting the tools for you to be able to kind of launch what you're looking to do if you're kind of into the same vibe as what we're into. So we do things like lore contests. We support community created works and give them a platform, like I just finished editing and put out today. We make this short animated thing called Set Life with Cryptids being like Bigfoot, Mothman, things of that nature, which is kind of the backbone of what HiddenOnes is in terms of like a creative character profile. And it's like amazing because like I posted the first couple of those kinds of episodes, and then the community's like, can we write them? And them too. I'm like, yeah, of course, go ahead, send scripts. They send scripts. This one was a community created one. I posted it, and watching people talk on Twitter, it's like, oh, it's so fun to see my words spoken through the character's mouth like this. And it's like so many people who want to do creative things don't really have those opportunities, because so much of the creative process at scale is really gatekept by these vertically integrated studios. And so the whole goal of HiddenOnes, really, if we're talking about it from like a business perspective, is really access and transparency and a streamlined way to engage these kinds of interactions and get to the heart of, wow, it's really cool to see my thing up there. Like, wow. And so right now at this stage of development, HiddenOnes is like we're kind of, the studio is there to help us develop some concepts, and maybe we kind of help guide those initially, but ultimately what we want to see is the community to take a life of its own, and ultimately we can help by funding and getting things off the ground for people.
That's amazing. I've actually checked out your site, and it's really interesting. It's really funny. It made me laugh, and it was entertaining, and it's just very creative, some of the characters that you guys have come up with. So thank you. Jacob, did you have a question?
I do. Yeah, I wanted to add an insight for those that are rewatching this after the fact that might not have caught that. So what HiddenOnes is overall, it's not just a production studio for you and your team and your creatives, but it actually gives digital creatives that have a slice of the IP pie, which is the cryptids, the ability to create their own lore and storyline behind their digital identity that's involved in this IP, and create a independent freelance storyline behind this character that adds lore to it.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Tell us, so are you guys also helping create smart contracts and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big point of the value that we see ourselves being able to bring to particularly artists and creators who don't really know what the potential is for blockchain and Web3 to help their careers. And also we're part of the business of HiddenOnes as well, especially at this early stage, is offering those kinds of services to large that aren't necessarily in Web3 but are looking to make the jump into it. So yeah, I mean, we ourselves are not technical very much. I do have that background in product design that you mentioned in my bio, but we don't know how to code or anything like that. So part of the goal here too is to get some revenue coming in so we can make those strategic hires and get folks on the team that are a little bit more technically inclined. And we've seen amazing growth with the team itself and our personnel since the beginning of the year. I mean, our community manager, Big Love, is on board, and that was a fantasy that Anthony and I had for months preceding it. Clayton is our chief counsel, and he's been doing a fantastic job of helping us navigate just this new world of Web3 and intellectual property. So yeah, the team is growing, and the trend is going up. I think every metric that you can possibly count in HiddenOnes has reflected that steady growth that we're looking to capture.
Are you guys actually looking for, you're looking for partnerships, but are you guys looking for investors at this moment?
Yeah, I think, we're looking for the right partners that really get the vision and really see that what we're ultimately trying to do is, give as many people access to the studio experience as physically possible. I think when we're talking about bringing the right kind of partnership in, it is someone who is going to be behind that vision, and that's not necessarily about trying to turn this into sort of a completely like vertically integrated system within itself, but ultimately I think right now we're focused on entertaining people and trying to bring in whatever IP can really support like our community's interest. So if we can sort of like solve some of the revenue problem on our own, then I think that gives us a little bit more leverage in bringing in that really strategic partner for sure.
Okay, wonderful. What kinds of things have you guys learned about this process in the last 2.5 years or so?
Ooh, wow, so much. I think one of our favorite things to talk about is just the amount of failure that has taken place. Just massive amounts of intel from constantly falling flat in our face and stepping back up and just keeping on. I think that's the biggest thing, because I think, initially coming into like the Web3 NFT space, like you could it seemed like people were just talking about how exciting NFTs were. And that was what was getting them to sell their projects out. The art just had to be decent enough. And then all of a sudden, the projects were getting sold out. And so of course we do a 10K project. We do it our way. The art, I think, is incredible and definitely stands out. And, basically crickets. We're like, well, what's going on? What are we not doing right? And it's like, well, we kind of like fell flat on the latter end of a whole meta that was the PFP craze, at least for the payments. And then we're like, okay, well, if we make it free, then what happens? And then of course, we mint out at that point. We're like, oh, okay, so that worked. All right, what are we learning from this? Oh, what matters most here is community, right? Like, I think initially we came into it being like, let's find a way for us to fund our own creativity. Let's go all in on another project, and then, fund that, and then the next, and then the next. And ultimately, because of all these hardships, we've been challenged to have and get more sort of brass tacks with just general business fundamentals, and as opposed to just being concerned with getting the next project funded, it was, well, what's the actual business model here? And how are we like creating a sustainable ecosystem, not only for us that solves our pain points, but also the pain points of literally thousands of people who want to be creative people who just don't have access to that ability, in the sense that they don't have an audience, right? If we can, as Hidden Ones, solve the audience problem, then we create a distribution network for people to come in and be like, oh, I'm making something great. Well, that person over here knows how to do this. Let's connect you two. You're all in the Hidden Ones community. And then, you publish your work, and all of a sudden it's out there, and you have people who are actually going to engage with it. So, it's taken a long time. I think really within the last 6 months, we've kind of taken it more seriously and realized the opportunity we have if we really buckle down. But, we're still early, and we're still probably going to have many experiences where we fall flat on our face. But I think as long as we just keep going, I think we'll finally, we'll get somewhere important.
That's awesome. I have a couple questions, and I'll rocket fire them off because I want to make sure we stay in the timeline. I also want to show your trailer. So first off, I know you both gentlemen have a background in arts, different forms and fashions. What got you to go down the whole rabbit hole of launching this this creative studio on the blockchain? Like where was the tie-in to what made you do it with blockchain integrations? And maybe that has sort of like a undertone of like, how did you get involved in crypto and when? And then I have a follow-up question after that.
Yeah, I think I like the way you structured that question, because it is really kind of a 1-2 punch. A good place to start is where we started in crypto, how we got involved to it in the first place, which is the distribution of this feature film that we're about to watch the trailer of. When we came into the space in February of 2021, there wasn't really, there was a little bit of a presence around the intersection of NFTs and film, but there wasn't a huge one. Like no one had really done anything as far as like a feature length movie that is in some form on the blockchain. We were able to do that, and we were able to mint our feature film as a one-of-one art piece, which is something that hadn't been done before. And all of that metadata is completely on chain. So it's provably that is what it is. So we sort of discovered, I don't know if discovered is the right word, but we distributed our film as an NFT. And from there, we started asking ourselves the questions of like, well, what else can we do for the film industry and for filmmakers to sort of pressure test these new models along this new distribution, platform that is blockchain. So that was kind of the line of thinking coming out of trying to, do something new and experiment with the distribution of our movie. And I think to Anthony's point, as we went along with it and we learned, more of these business fundamentals, I guess you could say, it really became about, like he mentioned, not really trying to solve our problems. We're not really trying to solve our problems in the sense of we want to get something funded, but how can our problems be applied to a greater audience? In other words, what is the shared experience there between us and other filmmakers and other creators? What's the pain point that we can try to solve for ourselves that will also apply to all these other people, which is our market at that point? So yeah, I mean, it was a long and gradual process getting to that point. And I think the strength that blockchain can have in solving some of those distribution and studio level problems is really, for me, like the divvying up of intellectual property on that you can do on chain that is much harder to do off chain. And we have a whole app in progress that is going to exist for the purpose of licensing HiddenOnes intellectual property peer-to-peer through NFTs. So that's really the big idea of like the actual platform offering that we're building, which is really just like a one element of the entire business and our suite of products and services, but it's going to be like the core offering as we get there.
Yeah, and then that piece specifically, like that's the thing that is currently gatekept, right, by Hollywood, by the top agencies, right? If you want to have a conversation about licensing some of your favorite intellectual property, you're not, like, the ability to get into a meeting where that's even going to happen is like super far-fetched, crazy, So a huge goal of ours is, create this system where like someone living in, the countryside and the Midwest can be like, oh, I really like this stuff. Oh, actually, I have an ability to like license and create something with this intellectual property that I love. And sort of there's a system in which everybody is mutually benefiting from that. The IP holders themselves are benefiting from having, their diehard fans finally have an opportunity to, go out and monetize that. Like that's an occurrence sector that is just completely unmonetizable. If we're talking fan fiction right now, like there's a huge opportunity for all sides to benefit from this. And then guess what? You have a development pipeline, right? Like as an IP holder, the people who love your stuff the most, who know it better probably than you at this point, actually have the ability to contribute and gain their own followings. And the biggest puzzle for any investor is like, well, what's the distribution? Who's going to watch this stuff, right? All of it's under the HiddenOnes umbrella. If you're a creator, if you're a fan, you're still a hidden one. It's like with Netflix, you're not a Netflix. They don't have those intimate relationships with the things that are being created. They lack that ability. But that's not what HiddenOnes is. HiddenOnes is going to have and does have that ability, which is that intimate connection between creator and fan.
That response was absolutely fantastic. And Zach actually kind of touched on my next question already, but I want to ask it specifically so we have that clippable moment. So like we said, metadata is there forever on the blockchain. You can't get rid of a block. You can't erase it. It's there, right? So what is the overall grandiose vision for the future of media in 10 years utilizing blockchain, not just HiddenOnes, but like as a whole, right? So like you create an independent film, a one-of-one NFT that is your movie launch. That's not going anywhere. It's there forever. So what does that look like 10 years down the line for you guys in your ideas?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know if we've ever really even thought about that yet. What do you think, Anthony?
I mean, Yeah, I mean, there's kind of the hopeful vision. A big part of sort of all of this is, we can create the system, we can build a support network, but if no one's on it, then who cares, obviously. So obviously, it's the hope would be, and the vision really is that in 10 years, this is like, a deep part of the backbone of what's out there for us, at least, that people can come in and not have to worry or even think about the minutia of it. Their user experience is like, cool, IP, want to use this, great for this, awesome, perfect, done. And it's just a really streamlined experience. Now, speaking specifically about the utility of provenance, I think it's like, dude, the ability to like create a character and all of a sudden be able to actually have passive income because there's a streamlined licensing experience for you. That's incredible. Like, I'm going to be sitting down all day just trying to come up with characters because I'm incentivized to do that from a community of people. And I would be curious, like, what people did with that stuff, and to think about the kind of art form then that takes place from an ability to share and still retain your sense of the pie. I'm just, it's like being able to see like Bugs Bunny on like, in Star Trek or something. It's like there's sort of a novelty I'm excited for about the experience of maybe what people sort of think of as the metaverse, which is that like, yeah, different pieces coming together in ways you wouldn't expect. That's a bit rambly, but I feel like, yeah, this is something we really haven't completely thought about before. So it's a really good question.
No, I like where you're headed with that. I think for me, where my head goes with what you're talking about, Anthony, is 10 years from now, what I personally would really like to see in the landscape at large is intellectual property that's created right now or has been created in like the last 5 to 10 years or 5 to 10 years in the future. This new set of beloved stories and characters and visuals and music and all this having the same spot that Disney IPs currently have, because I think there's a real fatigue in audiences and in the market starting to happen that has been building up for a while with these huge franchises like Marvel and Disney. And I love a lot of those movies, but I think, there's going to be a point where this meta in the studio ecosystem is going to fade away. People are they're going to want something different at some point. And I think that's an opportunity for Web3 native intellectual property and Web3 native stories like HiddenOnes to kind of wedge their share into the market. And hopefully in 10 years, it's less about IPs that were created 30 to 70 years ago, which is Marvel, Star Wars, Bugs Bunny, Star Trek. And it's a little bit more about things that resonate with, audiences that are being formed right now with young folks and, internet native intellectual property.
Yeah, going on that, actually, it is really interesting to think about like the system in which an intellectual property is created and how like the fact that there's new IP being generated on an entirely different distribution network that is blockchain, and the inherent differences that would have as opposed to, the more traditional distribution systems of, IP that were generated back in the 1970s and 60s, and how we're just kind of like tapping those wells still. It's really interesting. It's like when comic books were being distributed and whatever, like how those concepts were so tasty because they were new and they were being given to you, and you could go to your comic book store every week and get like a new issue for Marvel, let's say. And now it's like that well that's being tapped for these like massive blockbuster productions, but the things are getting a little tired, I think, and what does it mean now that there is this entirely new wave that Zach's talking about, that like, yeah, in 5 years, 10 years, hopefully this stuff is, people are ready for it.
I love that. We touched on, we talked about Disney, we talked about Marvel a few times, right? So those are really centralized agencies. There's no fractional reserve ownership of Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Iron Man, right? So that leads me into my next question, which is like, let's look at the micro real quick, and like, what are the different avenues, the different limbs of the tree that are monetizable through blockchain that's different than the centralized form? So like, yeah.
Yeah, I think, for us specifically, what Anthony was mentioning a couple of minutes ago, where licensing is going to be huge, in our opinion, just because there's been a block, there's been a centralized wall around all of those intellectual properties. And the nature of the blockchain medium is such that now that is going to be, flooded open. I think even we might start to see some of those previously centralized properties, the owners will start to see what's happening in Web3 with stuff like HiddenOnes and others, and say, well, I think we can maybe open it up a little bit. I think we can use this technology to give the fans a little scrap of, you can mess around with this part of it in this little box, and that we define, and then from there, I think we might start to see the trend change a little bit. I think that's one for sure.
I mean, imagine if Star Wars was literally right now, just like, we're going to give our fans access to a license that lets them make t-shirts. That's it. Oh my God. Do you know like the amount of money they would make in like 72 hours? Like, especially when you look at streamlined distribution channels like Teespring, where, you have print on demand. The piece that's missing, and where I think blockchain really helps in this equation, is the ability to track those interactions and to connect, print on demand services with a licensable, piece of IP, and the connection point between being like, well, this licensed IP is in that t-shirt. So the second a payment happens, that revenue split immediately happens and goes to the creator of the t-shirt and also the creator of, the IP, i.e. Star Wars here. And it's like, how are you just sitting on this? Like, do you know, like, the amount of people on your behalf that would be so excited and grateful to be able to participate with your IP? And let's not even, like, we can get into a whole discussion about Twitch streamers, right? Like, they're building their, they have their own digital storefronts right now with their own merchandise. Well, what happens when you give, start giving them the ability to work with the IP a bit more? They have the intimate connections with these audiences that these legacy IPs just are unable to have, and yeah, I get mad about it sometimes.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about blockchain. We're talking here about like digital creatives IP that goes along with independent filmmaking. But like you said, Twitch streaming, that this touches every realm of endeavor. Gaming, it touches media, obviously, it touches music, right? Like I'm about to jump into the next segment here, which we're going to show a little bit about your trailer. But like sometimes music, we're not really there at critical mass yet, but like when we post these things up, like on my YouTube channels, for example, UMG or WMG will flag it immediately and go, hey, there was some music in there that we kind of own that, so you're not going to be able to monetize this. And blockchain fixes that, which is one thing that's really beautiful. But thank you for sharing all those, and you guys are really, really good at answering these questions. You know your project well, and I appreciate that. And so your first NFT that was the sort of launch of HiddenOnes, you launched a feature film, and you actually minted it on the blockchain, and you created a trailer. So I want to go ahead and show that now so that we have that up and people can see what that is. Do we see this here?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. There's no copyright music on this, right?
I don't think so.
All right. Let's go.
You heard of Bigfoot? Loch Ness Monster? Well, the Hidden Man pretty much fits somewhere in that category, and it's causing havoc.
911, what's your emergency?
The Hidden Man! It's him!
I'm kind of thinking like maybe he's an alien, or maybe he's a demon.
You saw the Hidden Man. What happened?
He started to change and glow.
My theory is
It's just people in costumes.
The hidden man is a force. The hidden man is a keeper of esoteric messages. The hidden man is a mystic. The hidden man is gnostic. The hidden man is alchemy.
When are we gonna see the hidden man?
You can't see him. He's hidden.
Oh my god, this ridiculous.
That was awesome.
That was cool. I liked it.
Thank you.
So to follow up on that, right? That's an NFT that one community member is going to be able to, that not that specifically, but the whole film as a whole is minted as a one-of-one asset that is IP ownership. Is that correct?
It's actually not. There's no IP ownership given to the film itself, and that's sort of by design. Really, the angle that we took with it is literally having the feature film as fine art. So a really cool thing that we did in conjunction with the ownership of this NFT was produce this bespoke physical version that is sort of like a phygital experience where you can scan it with an NFC reader on your phone, and it's linked intrinsically to the token on the blockchain. So whoever owns that NFT owns this bespoke, unique physical version of the film that's like a definitive experience. It's got the lossless theatrical version on a custom-made USB drive with the film's logo type. It's got a Blu-ray version in a custom steel case. It's really, really, really nice. And that's sort of the appeal of it. And the great thing is that our hypothesis about how this could work in minting the film as an NFT, it was confirmed because someone actually went and purchased it. We put it up on auction, and we had a couple bids, and it sold. And it sold for a pretty good chunk of the budget. It was a low budget film made for less than $30,000, and we made a good amount of that back just by selling the NFT and keeping all of our IP rights. So it's definitely a model that I want to see more filmmakers use. And it's not going to be right for every filmmaker, but I think the part of the appeal of being in the space right now is being able to experiment with these different models and seeing what is really going to be like a common use case for how NFTs can supercharge films and filmmakers. So
yeah, this whole thing is so new that like being involved in it now or a year ago, currently it's like you have the opportunity to kind of shape what it's going to be, which is like crazy. It's like imagine having the ability to shape what a boat was going to look like when people figured out they could freaking float on water in that way. It's the value of being an early adopter is that you're not only sort of manifesting like what the trends actually become, but you're a part of the ideation process of like knowing what works and what doesn't. And by the time like it has like hits a critical mass, everyone's like, oh, now's the time to get in. It's like, well, actually it was a little earlier really, and now people are kind of looking to the leaders in those spaces. And it took Zach and I a long time to kind of find our foothold and really get that recognition. But really, like the stuff we're doing with HiddenOnes, I sometimes have a hard time speaking earnestly about how awesome I think it is, because I just don't want to come off as being conceited in some way. But it's true. Like the stuff we're doing is revolutionary. The stuff, our intention to provide access to other filmmakers and creators, I think is like it's next level stuff. And we're hoping that people can see the value prop that like all of you indie creators who are struggling and putting so much money into your work and then getting nothing on the back end of that, like come join our community and like be a part of changing that and giving other creators opportunities as well.
That's amazing. And for sake of time, I got a few rapid fire questions to keep moving. Zach made mention of it, but what is the chain that you're minted on, that your cryptids are minted on? And also I heard mention of an actual token. So is there a token that is involved with this project, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so we do pretty much all of our stuff on Ethereum mainnet, just because that's really where kind of the volume is, and we're really trying to put our foot in the ground and make a stake for, you know, our place in the marketplace. So that's kind of the chain we're focused on right now. We're definitely you know, open and probably will be going to, you know, like Polygon and L2s as those get more developed, and we ourselves target a bigger extra crypto audience. So yeah, but the cryptid PFPs are minted on Ethereum mainnet, and we don't actually have a token quite yet. But this is something that we're really excited to sort of plan out in the roadmap ahead, because once I feel like once we get to a certain critical mass of audience and we drop, you know, cryptid currency, that'll be a huge value add for the folks who are already in the community.
100%. And not to, you know, you don't have to lay out the whole formula, so be as discreet with your answer. But you made mention of the roadmap. So what are the next steps with your business that you're looking to move forward and advance on? What are the quote unquote alligators closest to your boat?
You want to take this one, Anthony?
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah,
I don't know where to start.
Yeah. You know, our responses will probably be veiled for the most part, but I can say that there are a few categorical problems we are trying to solve for, and one of them is community and audience, and ensuring that there is an active group of creators and fans in constant interaction, right? Because the more people that come to the community, the more that we can go and kind of hunt those bigger fish and say, listen, like, our community is active, it's thriving. We, finding the right kind of investor partnerships that will allow us to scale and provide more opportunities for those people. That's definitely on the radar. We're also, we're trying to partner with more legacy intellectual property. We have a really exciting project with Sharknado coming up. Can't really talk about too many of the details right now, but like, that's, it's a huge, it's a huge IP. People are really excited about it. And I think the thing that we're doing with it is going to really, it's just next level. So, we're definitely looking for more partnerships like that at the moment too.
Yeah. Also, sorry, just a note real quick, my camera tuckered out and I can't fix it without restarting my computer. So just a heads up. I'm sorry. I'm not being shy.
No worries. Okay. And then I know I've said the last question like 6 times, but where can we connect with you digitally?
Yeah, great place for us. You can kind of come to our Twitter, which is Twitter /.com/hiddenmythos. That will kind of guide you to our Discord, which is definitely where the real stuff happens. And every day, there's people talking every day about stuff they're working on. They're getting feedback. We're always teasing and giving first access to cool stuff that we're up to. So definitely come in and check that out. That's a great place for the community, and it's just like growing. And trying to think. And then if you want to watch any of our stuff, we token gate our entire content library and give first access to the whole community that way. And that's watch.hiddenones.xyz. That's powered by Beam. We are huge fans of what Beam is up to. They're helping create back-end services for streaming on through Web3 channels, and so that's been a really great way for us to reward cryptid holders. So all you have to do is hold a cryptid. The wallet identifies that it's up and running, and voila, you get access to our feature film, our shorts, our web series, our podcast anthology, like everything we got going on.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Anthony and Zach, for coming today and presenting. If you wouldn't mind, as soon as we're going to close down and stop live streaming, but please stay on. I think I have a few connections that both Alan and I would like to share with you. We could probably help you out in the film industry. And Alan, would you mind to go ahead and close with prayer?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing about your passion in this industry. Let's pray. Let's pray and close. Dear and Father, Lord, thank you so much for another week of CryptoCannaVerse Show that we can have Zach and as well as Anthony here in our presence to share about their passion in the movie industry, knowing that they're evolving into a technological crypto slash into the movie industry, how they can combine the two and create something that is very creative and something that they really truly believe in, Lord. So thank you, Lord, for them coming to the show and sharing about what they do. Continue to watch over them and lead them in the right path, whether it is to look for investors, whether it is to find the right partnership. Lord, we know that you put people in place at the right time. May you continue to bless this group as we all continue to grow and learn and continue to seek after you and keep our eyes on you, Lord. So pray for the weekend you be with us. Wrapping up June. Let's pray for a great July. In Christ's name, pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
Always appreciate you. I am on a new computer, and so I'm going to figure out how to shut this down. Let's see here.
And Zach, if you can stay on and we'll talk.
Yeah, Jake, can you please give me back host capabilities? That's why I can't find it.
Done.
Oh,
Also,
thank you.
Gentlemen, Zach and Anthony, it was a pleasure. You guys answered all my questions, and yeah, I look forward to seeing what you build and getting involved in your communities.
Oh man, dude, thank you. Yeah, thank you for, I don't know, we love, I mean, you're all such curious people, and I always feel weird in these settings because I want to ask just as many questions back, and I have to remember that I'm being interviewed as opposed to just being like, well, what do you do? What do you got going on? That kind of thing. So I'm super curious and would love to hear about